Hello and welcome to an episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. It's written work, it's game. Let's meet our panel today.
Jim.
Courtney.
Charlie.
And Josh.
I have a cupcake.
What are we talking about today?
Today we are discussing the Nobel Prize in Literature.
Ooh.
Now, panel, who is your favorite laureate and why?
Let's start with you, Jim.
Gabriel Garcia Marquez, because I was in 10th grade and I read Cien Años de Soledad and I just thought this is the best book ever because that world he creates with Macondo and the fascination with alchemy with the old man, and it's just like everything just blends together so seamlessly with Aureliano, and then there's the 3 generations of the family and they've built this community up from a pile of jungle, and it just shows how everything settles and then things fall apart.
It's unfortunate that he passed away recently, but he was, when he won the Nobel Prize in 1982, it was a breath of fresh air when it came to the straying away from Eurocentrism.
Yes.
Because that was heavily controversial, which we're going to be pondering in a little bit.
That's why Borges never won.
Yep, unfortunate. Courtney?
My favorite book is Beloved by Toni Morrison. A lot of people think it's just a ghost story, but it's a whole lot more than that. It has a lot of symbolism, color red, the tobacco tin box, even like water. It adds to it.
Yeah, Toni Morrison was known for her use of symbolism and her capturing a realm of American history.
That's a really rich book. I like that book.
It made her, Oprah constantly recommends Toni Morrison's.
Oh, if Oprah says it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
According to the public.
Except for James Frey, huh?
Yeah, the little pieces. How about you, Charlie?
I like John Steinbeck of Mice and Men. It's a great story. Sad ending. I personally like something with a happy ending, but we can't all have that, can we? Sorry. Sugar Rush. I think that story teaches a lesson, and there's the 2 main characters. I think I don't know who. I haven't read it.
Lenny is the one who's impaired.
Yeah, Lenny and the other gentleman who George and Lenny. Yeah, thank you. I think had Lenny been treated nicer, because back then, if somebody was born with disability, they didn't know what it was. They thought he was either demonized, he was baptized, or he was just completely got kicked in the head by a horse. Yeah, or completely
And
out
it's
of his
his
mind.
punishment for sinning
Yeah,
or whatever else.
Or he just, like I said, fell down a flight of stairs and lost some brain cells. Been there, done that. Got the T-shirt at home. Had he been treated nicer, I think it would have had a better ending, and he wouldn't have killed the poor woman in the
Curly's wife.
Curly's wife. Yeah.
Yeah, he strangles her because.
And he didn't mean to. He
Yeah.
didn't mean to.
Yeah, he's giving her a hug and he ends up
Yeah.
clinging to her hair and
Yeah.
she screams and
Let go. But
Yeah.
Lenny is too impaired. And then it ends up with George, who eventually has this friendship with Lenny, who has to, according to Curly, has to execute him at the end. Spoiler alert!
well, it wasn't necessarily according to Curly. Curly wanted to send Lenny to the asylum and George was like,
Yeah.
no, this is my friend. He doesn't deserve
Yeah,
what
no,
would happen
you
to
know,
him.
you're
in
right,
there.
yeah.
So I have to kill him off to
I
spare
saw
him
the
that
play a
fate.
while ago. It's still a little bit vague, but yeah, they did the right thing to spare him.
Very much remarkable individual with not just Mice of Men, Grapes of Wrath
I like
was a huge, that really contributed to the Great Depression and how it directly affected individuals.
East of Eden is actually my favorite Steinbeck.
That was one of his later works.
Mhm.
Really,
Hey, who stole my cupcake?
he won the Nobel Prize in 1962. I would say you can check that out if you wish. For my choice, as I'm trying my very best to get into the different figures, but for now I'm going to say that Hermann Hesse, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1946, would be my selection. He was German-born, but lived much of his life in Switzerland, and two of his works that I read were Siddhartha and Narcissus and Golden. The latter I have written about. One incredible thing about Hesse is that his interest in the East, he was one of the major individuals that brought it over to the West and portrayed it in such a way that it fulfilled the minds of various readers. And I was also highly fascinated with how he handled psychological work and work of intellect.
He never abandoned his own roots, though. He did stay true to German philosophy when he writes in Steppenwolf all about existentialism and the isolated self and the feelings of alienation.
I believe he did very similar things in Demian and
Yes.
Beneath the Wheel. And then he explored the intellect in The Glass Bead Game. Is there, where are we next?
Are there any individuals that did not win but deserve to? And contrarily, do you believe that there are any individuals that did win but do not deserve to be Nobel Prize laureates?
Plenty.
Okay. Won it, never won it, but deserved to. Jorge Luis Borges. He's an Argentinian short story writer and poet, and he's written essays about literature and where he feels lit should go. He's lectured in America. He's been a professor. He died 80s, I think, 80s.
Maybe 90s.
We can put a footnote after we check that.
We'll take it.
He wrote that my favorite story by him is always Borges CEO, which is Borges and I. It's the divided self, myself and my doppelganger, my other.
Doppelganger. Sorry.
It starts out in somebody's translation, it's Borges, the other one that things happen to, as Borges el otro, Borges the other, it's not me, it's Mr. Borges. I'm writing these words, right, presumably, but I'm going to write and say it's Borges, it's not me, it's the projection, it's my shadow. And then the last line actually ends up, I'm not sure which one of us is writing this page. So it's like, is it me? Have I been subsumed by the social script of me? Or is it the me?
That would be something to definitely check out. Dr. Bordelon's endorsed it, so I really, I should definitely check that out when I get the chance. The thing that you have to take into consideration is how they defined who's willing of the award, and the original criteria was whether or not they were active during the current time, and in that case, if they were doing it based off of today's standards, then Mark Twain and Leo Tolstoy definitely deserved the recognition. You also have to look at whether or not they were established at that time. And in that case, Anton Chekhov definitely deserved the Nobel Prize in Literature. He died prematurely due to TB in 1904. Tuberculosis.
I know. It was a Three Stooges fund.
1901 is when they first awarded it. But I would think that putting the two together, Chekhov did so much for Russian literature and world literature that...
Well, he's the major playwright. He had the famous theory of drama. If you put three guns on the stage, they have to all go off by the final act. You can't leave a thread dangling.
Makes plenty of sense. Not only was he's the father of the modern day short story too. So, and with regard to who, I don't know if I'm to say who doesn't deserve to win, but I know that there was controversy in 1974 where there were two Swedish writers who won, and both of them were on the board that voted. That not only vote, the voting is a wide range, but they were on the board of delegating. It's
And they were
somewhat
Swedish?
shady. The Nobel Prize is conducted in Sweden.
Because it's for Alfred Nobel, the Swiss inventor of dynamite.
I was gonna say maybe
other things.
maybe because of the Swedish meatballs.
Yes.
Yeah, it was in his will that that someone in literature, peace, chemistry, physics, and
Swedish meatballs.
there's one more, medicine,
Yeah.
would win.
Hi. Who do you believe should win the prize this year?
Me.
Who's nominated?
I think the front runners are Haruki Murakami.
Oh, yes.
There's Ko-un. He's a Korean poet. He came from a similar background as Mo Yan, who won in 2012. He was from China. They were both from a rebellious background, and Ko-un spoke against the different practices within his realm. Of course, he's from South Korea. But Haruki, I would agree with your notion about Haruki Murakami. He's been a front runner for quite a while, and his imagery is just the way that he captures a hallucination.
Unbearable lightness of being. It's just the best.
I would say so. Anybody else have any thoughts? Charlie thinks he should win the Nobel Prize.
Someone I would nominate if I could, the poet Ai. AI.
Oh,
She's Japanese.
if I could nominate any, but I think that eventually Khaled Hosseini, who wrote The Kite Runner,
Yes.
that is one of the grand pieces of literature in this day, especially when Afghanistan is being viewed in a fashion that one of its citizens lived.
The American lens on the East and on every other nation is rather ethnocentric and imperialistic. It's like, what can we get out of these people, and how can we push our sense of civilization onto them? In fact, there are two very wonderful books on this subject by Edward Said. It's from Vintage Press. It's a major work of post-colonial studies. He reads different literature through the lens of how have authors that are Eurocentric and from the Americas, North America primarily, Los Estados Unidos, as the Latins theorize, quote-unquote, the United States of America, because, as we all know, America was originally one continent. There wasn't a north-south divide.
America.
Anyway, the upshot of it is Orientalism is on the Middle Eastern specific, culture and imperialism is on the sense of Eurocentric projection onto the other nations in general.